Something astonishing is happening in Europe. Scholars are calling it a civilizational inflection point, that historical moment when the accumulated weight of elite failure, cultural displacement, and democratic betrayal becomes so total, so undeniable, and so personal to so many millions of ordinary people simultaneously that the entire political order cracks.
This is a Fox News election alert. Donald Trump is the president of the United States.
Few pundits recognized how historic, how absolutely earth-shattering that moment in 2016 actually was. Since then, it's simply undeniable that the world has changed and changed dramatically. And nowhere are we seeing the ripple effects of that Trump victory than in the UK. Though just a few years old, Nigel Farage's Reform UK has proven that a populist movement can go from protest to power in a democratic system that was specifically designed to prevent exactly that kind of populist disruption. When Nigel Farage founded the modern incarnation of Reform UK just literally a few years ago, the party had 0 council seats, 0 members of parliament with any real influence, and 0 control over any level of government anywhere in the country. 0. The establishment laughed. The commentators sneered. The BBC ran segments explaining why Farage could never win. And then, May 8th, Reform UK gained over 1,400 council seats in a single night. They took control of 14 local councils and they wiped Labour, the governing party of Prime Minister Keir Starmer, out of communities that Labour had dominated since before the Second World War. And what we saw on that night is virtually the same phenomenon we witnessed back in that night in 2016. The white working class overwhelmingly defected from the center left that they had been voting for decades and aligned themselves en masse with the new populist right. They had been waiting for someone to run to, and that same desperation, that same depth of abandonment exists in every major country in Europe today. Right now, across the entire continent, political movements that are rising to power are the ones that share Donald Trump's worldview. His diagnosis of what went wrong, his prescription for how to fix it, his absolute contempt for the globalist establishment that built the post-1945 order and then forgot to ask ordinary people whether they actually wanted to live inside it. Case in point, these are scenes coming out of the nation of Spain, in the city of Madrid. Over the weekend, tens of thousands of Spaniards poured into the streets in what organizers called the March for Dignity, demanding the immediate resignation of Socialist Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez. Speakers from the Conservative People's Party and the populist right Vox Party fired up the crowds to demand the immediate resignation of Sanchez, who is one of the most aggressively globalist, anti-Trump, anti-American socialist leaders in all of Europe. The man who refused to allow the United States to use our own military bases on Spanish soil for refueling operations. The Spanish people are rising up en masse. Again, case in point, the Vox Party is just a few years old, and yet it has surged to either, depending on the poll, either the second or third most popular party in the entire nation.